Hello, entrepreneurial leaders. So, beautiful powerhouse women. Here's what's happening. We are together today for some very specific reasons. Today, we're going to cover the new master plan. And I'm just curious, raise your hand if you know and you are interested in leading groups. Some of you are already leading small groups, but you want to have groups be a part of your business portfolio moving forward. You'd love to have some small groups that you're meeting with, serve more than one person at a time. So I just want to model for you today what it looks like when new clients come in to a current group, right? How do you do that? How do you work with the dynamics of that? So for those of you that want to lead groups and you're going to have opportunities to serve more people over the course of the year, just know that today is also an opportunity for you to look through the lens of how that context is being set. I'm really excited for today because today is really the moment where we get to show you the sort of umbrella plan of where you're going. You're going to be able to kind of look at the recipe that you can start to live into of putting the action steps in place to create an extra $2,000 a month, an extra $5,000 a month in your business. And today is really a day where you're going to start to think about a lot of different action steps that you might be taking in your business. We call it master planning. We also call it profit planning. And I want Serena to speak into this alongside me, but I do just want to speak into this that today it's going to be really important that we're going to open up a big conversation. For those of you that are newer to this community, we're going to give you a lot of information at once to just kind of give you an overview. And today you're going to start to look at the pieces of what you want to do over the next few months. And we're going to take everything that you learned today into your coaching session with your private coach. Are you guys with me on that? So you're not going to necessarily have all the answers today. Today's not about giving you every single answer. Does that make sense? Today's about getting you a plan so you can see what your choices are to get your message out on the internet and online and live as soon as we can start speaking live again. And it's an opportunity to educate you so you know what to start talking with your coach about. Serena, do you want to say just a couple more things about the overwhelm piece?
Anytime we start looking into the future, we have the potential to go into overwhelm because it's not here yet. So one of the best strategies that you can do on these calls is always keep a blank sheet of paper next to you. Turn off your phone, turn off the other things on your computer, stay super focused, and take notes so that you can have a plan of action when the call is over. Overwhelm is a choice, ladies. It's one of the things that keeps us out of taking accurate action. So the things that we share with you today, if you're new, this action plan, the strategy that you're writing down, you're going to take that into your coaching sessions and have an hour to see which part of this plan is next for you. If you've been in our program and are moving on to leverage, this call is going to be great for you to see what part of the plan are you going to implement when you jump into leverage. So ladies, without a plan, we're lost. We spin and we get scattered. So for today, consider just writing down, taking really good notes that you will then implement over the next 3 months. And don't shoot yourself into the future in your imagination about what it's going to be like until you get there. And that way you can stay with us here on the call. I'm delighted to be here.
Kiss for Serena. Mwah. Kiss for protecting ourselves from overwhelm. Mwah. The first handout I want to dive into is the leadership and leadership pitfalls handout. And so one of the things that Serena and I have noticed from training Entrepreneurial Leadership Academy for the last few years together is there's several pitfalls that our clients fall into. And what I've become aware of is that, especially for those of you that have done this with us before, what we want to know, and I'm very serious about this, is that this time in history has kicked up old trauma for most of us. Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so we are going to find ourselves likely, for those of you that have done this exercise before with us, we wanted to be deliberate about you revisiting this exercise because what's happening on the planet right now, most of us are very empathic. Most of us can feel it, even if it hasn't affected us directly. And so we want to just do a quick assessment of where you are in terms of your leadership edge. What aspect of leadership is edging you out the most right now? Because there's about 5 different places that we've noticed our clients go that take them out of the game. And these we've identified are pitfalls. They're pitfalls to you being able to implement the strategies, right? It's why sometimes on these calls, we'll do a mindset piece before we do the strategy piece, because we know if we can get your mindset aligned and get you the tools to always get back to a place of feeling whole and empowered and strong, it's going to be much easier for you to implement the strategies quickly and go create the $2,000 a month, the $5,000 a month, and not just the money, but to be able to effectively lead people. Are you guys picking up what I'm laying down? Because it's vulnerable to lead people when you're feeling vulnerable. Raise your hand if you can relate to that, right? So which are the 1 or 2? Most of you have a couple of these that are more prominent than the others. Okay, we all do all of these. Let's just be honest. We're all human and we all end up in all of these pitfalls. But what Serena and I are curious about right now is, which are the 1 or 2 that you find yourself in particularly now, particularly at this moment in history, particularly building your business through a really uncertain time, right? And so some of you are finding yourself comparing yourself to others. Some of you are finding yourself feeling like it's like you just don't feel seen, especially on the internet. Some of you might be like me. When I get triggered, I tend to push. I start pushing unnecessarily. And by the way, if you can't find this handout, just stay with me. I'm going to keep screen sharing it right now. So I'm curious, raise your hand if you're like me and you tend to just push. Like in the face of feeling uncertain or fearful, you'll just keep pushing and sometimes you burn yourself out, right? And then some of you do something that I've seen a lot of my clients do, and that is that you'll just get frozen in the face of challenging circumstances or feeling like there's a lot of responsibility on you. You'll just start freezing up and you'll feel defeated. Some of you will find yourself in this kind of spin out overwhelm where you start to feel frantic, right? And then the last one has a lot to do with judgment and then feeling like a victim. You judge yourself, you judge other people, you judge the world that it's feeling so hard, right? Do you want to add, Serena?
Yeah, what I really appreciate about bringing these strategies to light in times of crisis is that the only chance we have as human beings to change our habits is to become aware of them, to share them, to out ourselves. What's the thing that you do that maybe you're not the most proud of? Or what you're aware of, the 2 strategies you ping pong between is the beginning of creating a different kind of habit. Myself, I love to overwhelm myself. It's one of my favorite things to do, because then if I'm totally overwhelmed and exhausted, then I can fall down and then I can stop working. It's a really great strategy. And the more I can own that I'm doing that, the more I have power to not overwhelm myself and to pick appropriately of what fire to put out, what to create in my business, what to do. And that trickles into all of my relationships if I'm not overwhelming myself. When I take responsibility for my survival pattern, even if I'm in the midst of doing it and I tell Sage, I can't get to what you asked me to do, I'm completely overwhelmed, right? If I can out that even with my colleagues, then that's stepping into a new kind of leadership. And this is really empowering, ladies. As you grow your businesses, these patterns will continue to arise because they create safety for us. And when you can out yourself, then you become a more trustworthy leader for your groups and your individual clients. So I love this exercise.
Who wants to share one sentence of what your pattern is?
So I realized that I kind of have 2 that work together. I compare and then I freeze.
Yeah.
So I love seeing the comments that other people get, but then if I don't get the comment I was hoping for, I either go into despair, paralysis, or over pushing myself.
Yes. Raise your hand if you know that feeling of over pushing yourself. And what about the feeling of comparing yourself to others and then like sometimes wanting to get that comment, right? On social media, like you're looking for some validation. Have you guys ever checked social media like 3 times in a day just to see how many comments you have, right? Kiss for Misha. Mwah. And what an awesome opportunity for us to learn and to really get a handle on there actually is a science behind getting more comments. What about you, Ada? What's your default?
I get to overwhelm and freeze. I get so excited and inspired, and I want to do everything at the same time. And then when I look at what I actually have to do, like Facebook Live, I say, yeah, I do not know how to do this, but I get so inspired, and it's just like so much energy.
Raise your hand if you can relate to Ada. All of that energy flowing through you. I can relate to that too. Kiss for you, Ada. Mwah. Thank you for your transparency. And so as we're going through these, I'm going to invite you guys to commit to at least one mindset shifting strategy. There's a bunch of remedies on this handout that we invite you to consider putting a star next to, or circling, or just making yourself a note if these resonate for you, right? But for those of you that get stuck in comparison, first of all, I want to say stop it. Stop comparing yourself to other people on the internet. Just because somebody's already doing it does not mean that there aren't people out there waiting for you, okay? For those of you like me who tend to sometimes push, it's going to be really important that you commit to a plan. That's what your coaches are going to be helping you do in the next month. There's something so powerful about having a plan that you feel like you can trust, that's going to keep you from pushing and spinning out. Now, for those of you who freeze up and start really beating up on yourself, getting really clear on those one action at a time, right? The one action at a time that you're committed to, and rewarding yourself for every small step. Like for Ada, when she makes one video, that might be time for celebration. Like, I just made a video, big deal, yay me, right? Like text one of your friends, I did it. Get it up on social media. Congratulate yourself for just getting it done. For those of you who end up in overwhelm and spinning out, it's going to be really important for you to also think about prioritizing those income producing activities. I know for me, I like to hold myself accountable to being at my desk by 9:30 in the morning, starting my work, organized, ready to go, and to start to set some clear work hours in my week, because I haven't always worked for myself. This has been a new skill, to be self-disciplining, right? To be an entrepreneur. So raise your hand if you know you could benefit from setting some normal work hours. Like, this is when you're sitting down, this is when you're getting to work, right? And then for those of you that find yourself in the judgmental cycle, one of the things about being an entrepreneur that's been like eating humble pie for me has been how much personal responsibility I have to take for pretty much everything in my business. If somebody on my team does something that I wasn't expecting that they do, or they did something different than what I thought they would do, at the end of the day, guess who's responsible for that? Them or me? Who's responsible? Me, right? Like 99 out of 100 times, I haven't laid out a deadline, or I haven't laid out a clear process, or right? At the end of the day, I'm responsible simply because it's my business, right? And so the level of personal responsibility we step into as entrepreneurs can feel a little bit overwhelming. Raise your hand if you've ever felt overwhelmed by that level of personal responsibility. And so I want to invite us to remember that in that level of personal responsibility also lies our power. Can you guys feel it? When you're willing to take personal responsibility and not blame it on your coach, and not blame it on your friend, and not blame it on your partner or your son or your husband or your wife for supporting you, right? when you're willing to say, no, this is mine, it's also this opportunity to take back your power. What would you want to share, Ashley Moon?
I was going to share that I have a tendency to change my mind a lot. And I'll get focused and committed on something like my niche or my marketable program. And then I'll get sidetracked and passionate about something else. And why it's been good working with Claire is she just ensures that I stay focused and committed to one thing and give it at least a year to really see it through. And that's been super helpful because being a visionary, big thinker person, I want to do it, like Ada said, all at once right now.
Yeah.
But staying focused to one primary thing, like productivity, and how, clutter might be a symptom of that. But, it's like, okay, that's my thing is I spin out and overwhelm because I have so many ideas. I keep changing it. And now I know to just stay focused on this one thing and give it a year and be consistent with my coach so that she holds me to that. Because whenever I start to go off, she brings me back.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And so as we're going through here, I also invite you to consider what are the 4 or 6 or 8 tendencies that your clients are going to do. Are they going to hide out? Are they going to go unconscious? Are they going to spin out? Are they going to go into overwhelm? And that you start working with your clients on some of these pieces as well, so that you have some kind of a map where they can self-identify what might be holding them back, right? One of the strategies I want to give you to get you out of the self-judgment, out of the beating yourself up, is it's just a very simple tool called differentiation. This was a game changer for me because I know for me, I can oftentimes go into the victimization of leadership. Like nobody understands how much I've taken on. Nobody understands how much I have on my plate, right? And what I really want to underline for all of us is that our situation is always going to be unique. But it's so easy to compare and to fall into self-judgment. And so there's a leadership tool called differentiation. And this is really just the opportunity for you to remember you are your own human. Yes, you did say yes to this. You asked for this or you wouldn't be here. Some of you have kids at home. Some of you don't. Some of you have partners at home. Some of you don't. Every situation is unique. Some of you have part-time jobs that are still helping you sustain yourself financially. Some of you don't. When you can remember that you are not a robot, differentiate yourself rather than judging yourself for what you didn't do. The difference is psychologists have literally tracked these neural pathways in the brain. Where does self-judgment come from and what does it create? If we can flip into differentiation, it's very powerful what happens. Check it out. Let's look at what happens. When you're in judgment, guess what it creates? Separation. Can you guys feel that? As soon as you separate yourself, now you're in self-protection. And when you're in self-protection, it's difficult to learn. It's difficult to do a Facebook Live video. It's difficult to want to implement the strategies. It's difficult to want to follow up with a potential client because now you're in self-protection. Can you feel it? And so if we can get to the front side of that and you can differentiate, you can literally start speaking to yourself like a beloved leader. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations for showing up for this program. Look at what you're doing. You just made a video for the first time. Even if it's not perfect, even if your eyes looked droopy, I love you anyway. Good job doing that, right? When you can differentiate, when you can be gentle with yourself about the fact that maybe you did take on a lot, maybe you do have a kid at home, whatever your unique circumstances are, they deserve your self-compassion. And when you can differentiate rather than judge, then you can stay connected. You can stay in self-disclosure. You can literally be the woman who gets on the Entrepreneurial Leadership Academy Facebook group and says, hey, you guys, I'm having a rough week. I haven't been able to work on my business. My video didn't turn out the way I wanted, right? Technology wasn't working for me. Who can give me some love? Here I am. I'm committed. I just need a pep talk right now, right? And ask somebody to hop on the phone with you and give you a pep talk. Because here's the thing. It's the difference between staying connected and being open and vulnerable versus shutting down. And when you stay connected, and then what happens is you can continue to learn and you can continue to create those results for yourself. So I hope this is helpful. And I hope that this can remind you that really the more driven you are, the more compassion it is that you will need to have for yourself, literally. That's kind of a rule of thumb. Write this down. The more driven I am, the more self-compassion I am going to need to apply to myself. Okay? So here's the other piece of this model that we teach here at Women Rocking Business. We operate under something called the leadership loop or the accountability loop. Now, the newest version of this loop actually doesn't include the word victim. So for those of you that printed this out, if you'd like to, you can cross out the word victim and you can just write in here the lower loop, okay? Here at Women Rocking Business, we revisit this loop several times a year. I know many of you have seen this loop before. But this loop was created by one of our advisors, Annie Pratt. She's somebody who will train your team. So as your business grows, as you're making six figures, as you hire your first assistant, you may someday want to put your first assistant in a training program with my friend Annie Pratt. She developed this model, and this is just a model for leaders specifically around how do we stay in choice when external circumstances happen, right? We had a new client hire us, and then 2 days later, that client decided not to hire us and to back out of their contract, right? These kinds of things happen as an entrepreneur. Perhaps you made a video, but your computer didn't save the video, and all of a sudden it vanished after 45 minutes of work or 2 hours of work, right? Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about, right? These situations will arise more as leaders, right? And we have this moment where we get to make a choice. We can literally catch ourselves in that moment of intention, and we can either choose to recognize, oh, wow, something challenging just happened. Who do I want to be in the face of this? Feel our feelings, keep moving forward. Or we can go unconscious. We can blame somebody else or some external circumstances for that happening. We can rationalize, well, I don't deserve to have that happen to me, right? We can resist what's happening, or we can get into accountability and leadership around this, where we forgive ourselves. By the way, write this down. The person who is most important to forgive is usually yourself. And we can get back into action. Can you see how much more quickly you can get back into empowered action when you can stay out of poor me, this happened to me, right? There's a quote by Viktor Frankl that says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space lies our freedom. I'll say that one more time because I think this is the epitome of what it means to be a leader. Because as soon as you say, I'm going to step into authority, I'm going to make videos for people, I'm going to be a leader, a mentor, I want a full practice, I want a group program. As soon as you say that to the world, guess what? Your stuff comes up. Raise your hand if you've had that happen. So I've never seen it work where women can go out and enroll 12 clients without doing a lot of their own personal work in the process. And so today we're doing a little bit more mindset work than we would normally do on a call, because for some of you, it's your first call. But I want to put a stake in the ground that you are willing to bring more self-awareness, more gentleness, more self-love to this practice, because I've never been so tested as I've been as an entrepreneur. And I'll say that quote one more time because this is a perfect quote for leaders. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our freedom, right? If we can notice and catch ourselves a little bit sooner, even just a little bit sooner. Oh, I just got triggered. Oh, I ended up in the lower loop. Oh, I'm going to be gentle with myself and feel my feelings and maybe have a good cry or reach out to a friend as a way to get through it faster so that I don't walk around triggered for 3 days and stop making videos and stop moving forward on the business steps, right? The sooner you can take care of yourself in that, the more you're going to be able to get back into action. And Serena has watched us and has been a big part of us using this model in the team as well. I had a crunchy moment with my team last week. I was not my best self with my team last week. There was a lot going on. I had just gotten off of the live stream. We welcomed a bunch of incredible new clients who I'm looking at right now into our world. We have a bunch of current clients that we're still working with, and all of our systems had to get revamped at once because we did the virtual event rather than the live event. Does that make sense, you guys? Like when we pivoted to the virtual event, every single system for onboarding clients and every single system that we would normally use went out the door. And we wanted to revamp the content as much as possible for you guys to make sure you guys had everything you needed to get online. And so it was one of those moments where Sage was working 14-hour days. And I got to go to my team, and instead of blowing out, I got to say, I'm in the lower loop. How many of you guys would love to have a crew of people around you who you can just say, I'm in the lower loop, and they know what you mean, and they're going to love you through to that, you know, you can switch back into a place of more empowerment and responsibility. And so I would say teach this loop to the people in your life. Hop on the phone with other ELA women, and we'll give you guys a chance to do that. Serena, what would you add?
I think one of the best distinctions for me is the self-forgiveness piece, because I hold myself to a high standard. And if I make a mistake, or if I'm not taking the high road, if I've blurted some emotion out, if I said things the wrong way, that's often where it starts to tip for me. And so if that's true for you too, consider that being one of the differentiations to keep you moving upward. Because self-forgiveness, especially in building a business, where you're trying multiple things, you're in this huge learning curve, and things are going to turn out better than you thought, and sometimes they're going to turn out worse than you thought. All of it's going to happen. If you can stay out of the place of being cruel to yourself, you'll move through the pitfalls more easily. And then you actually have a genuine place to forgive someone else. Because our clients are also human beings, and they're going to bring all their resistance and their projections to you as you work with them. And so if you can forgive yourself first, then you can forgive them. And again, that creates a great amount of safety when working with people.
I love it. So write down one sentence. We're about to switch into strategy, but write down one sentence of what you're committed to as a way to keep yourself moving out of the lower loop and into personal responsibility, empowered action. What is one thing that you know would support you when you get triggered? Being a badass leader is going to kick up stuff. And so to actually celebrate, I've literally gotten to the point where I'm like, oh, I'm triggered. Okay, bring it on, life. What can I learn by this, right? All right, so everybody fist bump for the commitment to self-love, self-soothe, and keep moving forward anyway. Boom. Last quick plug here, you guys, is if you do not own the book, War of Art by Steven Pressfield, please, for the love of the goddess, go and grab yourself a copy. It's called The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. This is the best book that I know to really show you what resistance is and to get you out of resistance as quick as possible. Here's one of the quotes from Steven Pressfield. He is the leader on the planet that I believe understands the psychology of resistance, especially around leadership, better than any other leader I know. He says, like a magnetized needle floating on the surface of oil, resistance will unfailingly point to true north, measuring that calling or action it most wants to stop us from doing. He says that we can actually use resistance as a compass. We can navigate by resistance, letting it guide us to that calling or action that we must follow before all others. I love his rule of thumb. The more important a call or action is to our soul's evolution, the more resistance we will feel as we pursue it. Raise your hand if you have felt that. Oh, I'm supposed to move toward the resistance rather than away. Okay, one day at a time. And what's so cool is that we get to do this together so that we don't have to fall into the story that just because it's hard, it's not meant to be, because that's just simply not true. So let's talk strategy, shall we? There's a few things that we're going to invite you guys to look at as we're moving forward in your businesses this year. I'm going to check out the master plan, and I want to just do a quick review of the 3 areas of business so that you guys can see how these 3 areas of business are really shaping up given the current climate where virtual marketing has become more important than ever before. Okay. There's 3 components of business. And the first one is lead generation. It's about tribe building. And it's about getting eyeballs on your content, right? This is about making sure that you're in front of potential clients on a regular basis. So this is about putting videos up on social media. This is about creating groups on social media. This is about speaking live and online, doing signature talks in your community as soon as we're able to do that again, hosting interviews, hosting podcasts, speaking down the street at the local bookstore, building a client funnel, right? Which is just a simple way that clients find you online, and then they take another step with you, and then they take another step with you. It can be as simple as inviting people into a Facebook group, and then they watch a video. It can be as simple as creating a website where you invite clients to your discovery session or your free gift. I want to invite you guys to go ahead and write down and commit what's the first or next step that you want to commit to continuing to create solid lead generation for yourself. And so this could look like I'm ready to start going live on video once a week on Facebook. This could look like I'm finally going to launch that Facebook group. Or for those of you that already have a Facebook group, this could look like I'm going to actually start putting content in the group 2 or 3 days a week, right? Regular content is one of the best ways to warm up an audience to be ready to invest in themselves through your services. So go ahead and make a commitment to yourself right now. What's the next step you know you want to take to continue to get the eyeballs on you, especially on the internet right now? Once you make that commitment to yourself of what your next step is for lead generation, I want to invite Serena to talk a little bit about the second and third areas of business.
For lead generation and are putting up that weekly content like Sage was talking about, and letting people know what you're up to. You want to begin engaging your clients in enrollment conversations, enrolling them into their bigger dream. Nurturing potential clients and making a sale is what will bring you new paying clients. So the 3 steps within that domain is first creating your marketable program. The second one is setting your rates. And the third one is mastering the grow conversation. Now, remember, we want you to stay out of overwhelm. So if you are beginning with your marketable program, you either don't have one or you're revising a good one that you have, remember, just focus on the first 3 steps of your marketable program. It doesn't have to be completely fleshed out. the first 3 things you would do with anyone who came to you for support. That will keep it more manageable. Similar with setting your rates. If you've never had a rate, setting your rate can be as easy as just finding a price that feels good in your body and sharing it with some of your ELA sisters and bouncing it off of them or your coach. If you already have a rate and you want to give yourself a raise, now might be the time to give yourself a small raise, depending on who your ideal clients are. Now, in order for you to actually deliver your rate to a potential client or share with them your marketable program, you are going to need experience in mastering the grow conversation. And ladies, one of the pitfalls is to shy away from sales. When I first joined this program, I hadn't sold anything to anyone for money in my entire life. Nothing that I'd created of myself. And it was a really vulnerable experience. Every time I started to talk about money, my toes would curl up in my boots. I'd be so nervous that the sky was gonna fall. And so I began diligently practicing the grow conversation over and over with my classmates so that when I got into a real conversation with the potential client, it went smoother. So all of these steps in enrollment and sales can have baby steps within them. And so your challenge right now is to write down your commitment. What's the next step you want to take in enrollment? Are you going to begin with your marketable program, your rates, grow conversation? And what is the first couple baby steps? One of the ways that you can set yourself up for success in these challenges is to put down the next step and the next step and the next step, and not the entire goal, so that you can walk yourself towards success.
And Serena, let's talk a little bit about fulfillment.
So once you get one of those sacred paying clients, you want to fulfill, right? You want to make sure that you are giving them what you promised. And one of the best things we can share with you is how to keep them engaged. Immediately start creating a relationship. Because actually fulfilling with a client is opening a relationship that can last years if you keep fulfilling with them and showing up for them. One of the ways to help your clients feel like they are getting the results that they want is to create or design a map so that your clients can see the journey that they're on, so they can see their progress. And as you keep meeting with them, session after session, really put that out in front of them. Remind them how far they've come. When we create re-enrollment opportunities, one of the biggest things I see with fulfillment is that once we get a new paying client, we want to go search for the next one. When you fulfill strongly with your clients, you can keep your clients season after season because they trust you. They're more likely to stay with you because they don't want to go out and start with someone else who doesn't know their story. So create systems so that your clients can scale, so that you can keep helping them grow. And if you are fulfilling in a group program or many private clients, consider hiring an assistant, someone to support you and your team growing along with your clients. Now, your assistant you can hire an assistant for a couple hours a week. For many of you who are tackling a technology mountain, having a tech assistant is going to be really helpful. And consider 1 or 2 hours a week. For some of you, you might want more. Ladies, people are searching for you and your services. When you can fulfill and be generous, this creates a lasting relationship. It's one of the things I admire the most about Sage ever since I began working with her, is that when clients come into her world, she gives them everything she can, right? That's why these calls are so robust. So for each and every one of you right now, what's the next step you are going to take to create excellence in your fulfillment? Potentially you'll create a map. Maybe you're already having some ideas about those first emails that you're going to send out to engage your clients and let them know what's up. Potentially it's a free gift or a bonus of some kind just to get them started. So write down a few ideas about that fulfillment process. Remember, it doesn't have to be fulfilling the entire program. This is the next couple steps to begin opening that relationship and really galvanizing that you are with them. You're going to get them their results. You're going to hold their hand through their pitfalls and their doubts and their spin out. What are you going to do to support them? Do you want to add something to that, Sage?
Thank you, Serena, so much for that quick overview. And raise your hand if you would just as soon hang out in fulfillment out of all 3 levels of business. I know I've asked some of you guys this before. You're like, hand me 20 clients, Sage, and I'm good. I just would love to just fulfill. You know, that's where I want to live. And believe me, I've been there too, where I'm like, why can't somebody just hand me clients? Why do I have to do these other things? And what I really want to underline for every single one of us is that there is actually an incredible expansion that's going to happen in your leadership just by the willingness and the commitment to figuring out lead generation, figuring out sales. Because as soon as I became the woman who could basically, out of every 2 people that I talk to, 1 person hires me. Does that make sense? I'm at the point where when we're in search of clients here at Women Rocking Business, if I get on the phone with 10 people, at least 5 of those people will hire us. That's just the level of sort of enrollment chops that I've developed over the years. It's not about bragging about myself. It's just about knowing it. I know who my ideal clients are. We put them through a pre-qualification process. We'll teach you guys how to do that during the Client Magnet VIP day, right? You got to pre-qualify folks. You got to know if you're talking to somebody who's actually wanting what you have. And as you grow in your confidence to enroll clients, then guess what? You now have the keys to the queendom. You can train other people to sell for you. Does that make sense? How many of you would love to have a salesperson on your team who sells people into your program? How many of you would love to have a marketing director who does a lot of your marketing for you? Great. So the way to do that, the way to have that is by getting your first 10 clients. Does that make sense? Are you picking up what I'm laying down? Do not try to shortcut this, because once you know how to market yourself, then you can delegate it out. Once you know how to sell, you can delegate it out. But until you know how to do those things, it's impossible to delegate those things. There's nobody on the planet that actually knows how to market you better than what we can create with you right here, right now. Does that make sense? Because you're not selling a cookie cutter product. You're selling something that's near and dear to your heart. You're actually selling the gift that's inside of you. You are an important part of what you're offering these clients. And so as you learn to do this for yourself, I promise you, this is liberation. This is you setting yourself up for as much money as you want to make for the rest of your life. I remember when my colleague, T. Harv Eker, he wrote a book called The Millionaire Mind. And he looked in my eyes. I met him at an event. I got to get on his stage in front of 5,000 people and do a little piece. And he looked in my eyes and said, Sage, when you learn how to be a really powerful saleswoman, not convincing, not manipulative, but just an honest, truthful saleswoman, you will never have to worry about money another day in your life. And so I'm saying that to every single one of you. When you learn to be the powerful, authentic, I am willing to tell you the truth and stand in the fire with you right now and invite you into the greater version of yourself, because that's what sales is. You're inviting people into the greater version of themselves. Write that down. That's all you ever have to do. You don't have to convince people. You just get to invite them into the greater version of themselves. And when you master that, you will never have to look back. You will always have those clients coming toward you. So one more quick thing. Many of you have been working on the levels of business with us. Okay, this levels of business is like a map, right? You can always locate yourself on this map. All of you here are still building out your level 1 of business. You're still getting clear on your niche. You're still building out your program. You're still learning how to deliver talks online and on video. You're networking, right? This is your map that you're working on. What we're about ready to show you on the master plan is the how if the levels of business are the what. Does that make sense? What we're about ready to show you on the master plan is how to implement the different action steps that you're going to be working on in the levels of business. Does that make sense, you guys? The levels of business is like your to-do list. It's what you're working on. The master plan is like, here's how it looks. Here's the big plan of how all these pieces fit together. So let's talk a little bit about what it means to create a client funnel. A client funnel is your lead generation. Okay, write that down. Lead generation, it's the same as building your tribe online. It's the same as warming up potential clients. And it's the same as putting up a client funnel, because a potential client funnel, all that really means is that it's a way for people to find you online. Does it make sense, you guys? It's a funnel. They would first see a video of you, and then they would go join your Facebook group, and then they would jump into a discovery session with you. It's a way in which they get to take more and more steps toward you. So we're going to start with the simplest of client funnels. The simplest of client funnels is just to start doing regular video. Super simple. Regular video on social media. By the way, for those of you that are still new to making videos, you do not have to go live every week. If it's intimidating, you don't need to go live. You can just make a video. Give yourself that practice of making a couple of videos until it gets to the point where you feel like it's solid. And then you can upload it to social media once a week. Pay attention to the tip to make this work is that those weekly videos actually have a hot results-oriented title, okay? The titles are actually specific and pass the face test, right? A video that might say something like immunity boosting tips for women, right? I would know who to share that video with. Any women in my life who wanted to learn to boost up their immune system right now, right? So in a moment, we're going to have you brainstorming what kinds of micro niched video topics can you come up with in the next few days so that you have a couple of topics you can make videos on. And yes, if you are ready to go live, actually streaming a live video onto Facebook or into a group is going to create even more intimacy. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. But Serena, do you want to talk a little bit about just creating a simple speaking funnel that's above and beyond just like a weekly video?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So what we have seen after years of helping women is that speaking live converts clients the highest because there's that intimacy. And everything that we've been teaching in this program is about doing that you can now use that same plan online. And that's what's the magic of it, right? As you are all getting online and practicing, speaking, doing videos, you can use all that practice when we're able and free to meet again. I just love that because I want to remind everyone there will be a time again where humans get to be together. And you are getting this great practice to be able to nail that when it happens. So short workshops or events with hot results-oriented titles that Sage is recommending in your videos is what we also recommend you do when you speak locally, when you're gathering and you're getting people to come together. Now, those will convert higher than online, but you can use these same templates if you speak on a podcast, a radio show, any kind of trade interview with colleagues or fellow students, right? Social media. All of this is applicable. And one of the main things we want you all to remember is to make an offer at the end of those speaking engagements, whether they're virtual or they're live, and invite people into having a 30-minute free conversation with you. We call those in this group, we call it a discovery session. What you'll call it when you offer it out is a breakthrough session. Those things are the same. It's also similar to a free consultation. And everything under all of this free offer for a discovery session is your grow conversation. That's what is the map that you'll be using. And what I see happen the most with women is they get really excited about doing a 2-minute video or even doing a 2-hour training, a webinar, or a Facebook Live, and they forget to offer the free discovery session. So make sure, ladies, make sure that you put a stake in the ground for yourself that you're in business. And that at the end of this free, generous gift that you're letting people know there's more of you. And they can get that one-on-one. So call them to action at the end of all of those pieces. And Sage is going to go further and talk about the video challenge, the Facebook video challenges.
I love this. And I want to add, for those of you guys who are moving into leverage, one of the things that we have been historically asking leverage women to do is to team up with each other and interview each other on social media, to do a side-by-side video where they take turns interviewing each other and highlighting each other's expertise and sharing tribes that way. And what we're realizing is, with the necessity of virtual marketing efforts, we're going to be inviting entrepreneurial leaders to do that more as well. Many of you guys have been asking about and talking about the Facebook challenge funnel. What we mean by a challenge funnel is that you go live on Facebook the same time every day for 3 days or 5 days or 7 days. It's as simple as that. Historically, on the internet, what people mean by a Facebook challenge is that you're going live on video multiple days at the same time each day, and there's some kind of a challenge involved. There's some kind of an action step involved that includes prizes. Raise your hand if you've been involved in one of our Facebook challenges where you've watched me inside the sisterhood group. I'm live on video every day. I'm asking people to make videos. I'm asking people to post things and then to comment on each other's posts. And you guys have seen the kind of engagement that that creates, right? And so we're going to be teaching you guys how to do that recipe for yourselves, right? Where you would grow your social media following. Most of our clients will do a Facebook challenge into a group, because there's all kinds of things you can do in a group that you can't do on a Facebook page. In a group, you can have people posting and then commenting on each other's posts, and it creates that feeling of intimacy and engagement. Does that make sense, you guys? There's things you can do in a group that you just can't do on a page, because inside of a group, people are actually able to comment on each other's posts and actually follow up with each other in a more intimate kind of a way. So most of our clients will decide to spend several weeks growing their social media presence. They build the group, they invite people to come and join the group. They spend some time doing that, and then they do the Facebook challenge into the group. Does that make sense? The other thing that they oftentimes do is to invite a handful of people to help them get the word out about the video training. And you can invite other entrepreneurial leaders and other leverage sisters to be your affiliate partners. All of these tools can be adapted. LinkedIn now has groups as well. For those of you with a more professional audience, you can run a video challenge over on LinkedIn as well. And you can run videos on Instagram. Instagram and Twitter do not have groups, but you can still run videos to invite people into your Facebook group. The other thing that we invite you to do and to consider is doing posts on your Facebook fan page, which is also your Facebook professional page. Those two things are the same. And you can boost things over on your professional page. You can't boost things from a group, okay? Your professional Facebook page is linked to an ads account. And Facebook advertising, of course, is going to be the next step for some of you to start to get into. We'll bring in a Facebook ads expert this year to train you guys. But the thing you want to start out doing is you want to start by getting people's attention on Facebook. You want to start by getting people to click from a video to a discovery session. Before you spend much money on ads, you want to actually have some experience knowing that what you're doing is working. Does that make sense? I feel very protective of your budget. And so the very first way to start playing around with ads is to post a short video over on your fan page, which is also your professional page, same thing, and boost it for like $10 a day for 3 days. Don't put any more money into it than that, because much more money is not going to get you a lot more eyeballs. Does that make sense? The Facebook algorithms, we've studied all of that with our Facebook ads experts that we hire. We spend over $150,000 a year on Facebook advertising. And what we've come to understand for sure is that you don't want to spend more money boosting a post than somewhere between $10 and $15 a day for 3 days or maybe 5 days at the most. After that, your dollars aren't going to be well spent. Let's take a quick break and see what questions you guys have so far. I know we've been laying down a lot of information on you. There's 2 things you can do. You can, have you launched a Facebook group yet?
I made one with a title, but I haven't done anything with it.
Great. So once you start pushing people into that group, Tracy, you can do the 3-day video challenge inside of the group,
Okay.
and you can make the offer right on that Facebook challenge. We tend to do at least 6 figures of revenue off of our Facebook challenges, usually more like $500,000. And what we do is I start making the offer at the end of those videos, because here's the thing about selling. You guys write this down. You have to earn the right to sell to people. And the way you earn the right is by giving them great content. Right? Every single one of you trusted us and invested here instead of somewhere else because you felt like you had already learned something from us. At least that's my hope. That's my hope, was that you felt like you had already been served. You felt like something here resonated with you, right? So that's what you're going to go out and do for your potential clients. So Tracy B, you're a step ahead with the fact that you're doing the weekly YouTube videos. Now tell me, are you wanting to actually make an offer for a high-level package? Because if you're putting somebody into a program that's more than $2,000, we still recommend the discovery session, but we can teach you how to get those people even more pre-qualified so that you're talking to people that are just much more ready to go. What's your goal?
Right now, my program is $24.97. It's 12 modules, but they actually don't get access to me. I kind of do, well, they do. I do these surprise little pop-ins or whatever, but part of the program, I haven't built it out that way. So I kind of feel like when I first started with your guys' stuff is I skipped a step. Like I skipped the private clients and went right to like an evergreen thing. So I kind of want to back my train up and start coaching them like every month for $4.97 and build that out to have 10 to 20 clients a month doing that. And then from there, build masterminds that they can move into, so on and so forth. So kind of feeling like I need to kind of reverse a bit and start back at square one.
I highly recommend you spend some time getting people prepared for your program by doing a multi-day video challenge. At the end of the challenge, you'll start making soft offers for the program. You'll start letting people know, here's what we're going to do together in the first couple months. Here's what we're going to do together in the next couple months. You're not going to say the price. You're going to let people know, if you're interested in the program, here's the results. If you think you're a fit, there's an application process. We want it to be a fit for you, and we want it to be a fit, and I want it to make sure that it's a fit for me, because we're going to be working really intimately together. And so the way that you apply is to head over to my scheduling link. You'll see a few questions there that we'll need you to answer. And then you and I will sit down one-on-one together, lay out a little plan, and see if it's a fit to do more work together. And so that way you end up with people on the line who are more qualified. They know there's a program being offered. And we're going to teach you during the client VIP day a little bit more about pre-qualification, because that's a whole separate conversation. But for now, I would recommend you start there, since you haven't actually sold people into this coaching program before.
Thank you.
I'm excited for you. Kiss for Tracy. Mwah. So here's what you want to do. If you have more than one group, at some point, you're going to want to choose, what's the group I'm going deep with? You know, because I've gone all in on the Women Rocking Business Sisterhood. We have over 30,000 members in there. Anytime I'm opening doors to any program I ever have for the rest of my career, I'm going to have a Facebook group that has tens of thousands of women in it. Can you guys feel the value of that? So you want to decide, what group am I going all in on for the next 6 or 12 months? Pick a group. And then any other groups you have going, you're going to want to invite those groups to be a part of the group that you're all in on. Keep in mind, you can change the name of a Facebook group. So you can evolve a Facebook group. If you have members inside a group and you titled it something that's no longer relevant, you can give it a new title. You can make a new video and you can let everybody know, hey, here's what this group is about now. If this is a fit for you, we invite you to stay. And that's what you want to do to warm up anything that you've done in the past that might have gotten a little stale, right? Anytime you start a newsletter and then maybe you don't send anything out for a few months, anytime you start a Facebook group and then it goes dormant for a little while, you want to basically come back strong and let people know, hey, you might have been wondering where I've been. Here's what I'm up to now. Here's what I know. And here's what people are asking me for. And if that's a fit for you, I'm so excited and I'll be back next week. Right? So just be real with them, meet them where they are. Don't be shy about the fact that you've been a little bit dormant, and let them know where you're now going together. For so many of your questions, you guys, this is all a question of leadership. Can you guys feel it? How do I meet people where they are and how do I lead them? What would I want somebody to say to me if I were in that position? That's what I'm always asking on behalf of all of you. If I were in Entrepreneurial Leadership Academy right now, what would I want for today? Right? I even asked that question about today. I realized that I wanted both groups to get together today, to get to feel each other's power. I wanted both groups to get on the same page with the virtual marketing strategies. We're constantly asking, how do we take the best care of, right, the people who are following us at these different levels? Is that helpful, Leanne?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
You're welcome. Kiss for Leanne. Mwah. So I do want to just mention, because many of you guys have asked, well, what about webinars? What about, summits where I could interview a bunch of other people? These are a little bit more advanced, right? To do something like a webinar, to do something like a virtual summit, but they're fantastic. So let me just get really clear, you guys. A webinar, really the only thing that makes a webinar is that it has slides. Does that make sense? A webinar is really just a video training with slides. You can have a webinar where you're not on camera at all. It's just slides. You can also have a webinar where you're doing what you see us do a lot at Women Rocking Business, where we're face to camera, we're teaching on the video camera, and then every once in a while we switch over to a handout or we switch over to slides, okay? The great thing about a webinar is if you do move people into a webinar, a lot of times you'll hear people call it a masterclass. It's a more appropriate selling environment. So when you have people sign up for a masterclass or a webinar, you get to spend a full 90 minutes with a group of people. That's a place where people would be anticipating that you're making an offer. So it's a place where you can go to be a little bit more assertive about your offer. Some of you also may play around with interviewing a bunch of people at some point this year, and it can be really powerful to do a short interview series inside of a Facebook group. So we'll be talking and teaching you guys more about these strategies this year, but I want you guys to see how this actually works and how this has actually looked for our clients. Like, these are real life situations, so that you can really see like, oh, this stuff actually works. And in a moment, Serena, I'll loop back around to you because I want you to talk a little bit about the technology piece of this. But as long as we're talking about the plans, I am going to go ahead and give you guys the case studies. These are really case studies. So here's an example of my client, Emily. Okay, Emily used weekly videos. Simplest funnel ever. She didn't even need any fancy websites or anything like that. She did it all with videos on social media. She started doing videos multiple times a week and sometimes weekly. And over time, She had 12 people take her up on discovery sessions. And of those 12 people, in about 6 weeks, 5 of them hired her. She got really good at discovery sessions. And she got to that first level, right, of making $2,500 a month, right? That was kind of like her first level financial goal. Here's one of our clients, Annette, from a couple of years ago. Annette did a Facebook challenge. She did several videos. She did a 5-day video challenge into her Soulmate Magnet Facebook group. She's a relationship coach. She spent several weeks building up that group and doing inspirational posts and things like that. And over those 5 days, and within a couple weeks of those 5 days, she had over 30 people book sessions with her. And out of those 30 people, 14 people hired her at $397 a month. And she was at her first $5,500 a month profit plan. And right, the total for that launch, what she made was over $40,000, or about $40,000. So I want you guys to see how the numbers work. This stuff works. Some of you guys have met Robin Nielsen in our Leverage program. She has a Facebook group called the Natural Solutions for Hormone Balance. If you are a wellness practitioner and you want to see what she's doing inside of her Facebook group, I highly recommend you go join her Facebook group. She's doing a really top-notch job of facilitating a conversation around health and wellness. And she basically started doing a little Facebook video training into her group every single month last year. And each training had a little bit of a different title, but she would just go live for 3 days or 5 days per month, once a month. And she got really used to doing it because she was doing it over and over again. It stopped feeling like it was very much work. And over the months, she had 17 people enroll into her 6-month program. And she it was her first 6-figure digital launch of a high-level program, okay? Simple, nothing fancy. Everything that we're teaching you guys, it works, it works, it works, it works. Serena, do you want to share just a little bit about technology, or I also think it would be powerful to just, again, share a little bit about keeping our goals realistic.
How many of you, when you see Sage do her plan, it looks easy, but then when you hear about the plan and you have to do it, you start to go into a little bit of overwhelm? And maybe you're feeling that. Awesome. So let's all take our hands above our head. Do a little 7th inning stretch. Yeah, that's it. Breathe in your nose and out your mouth. Deep breaths up here. Because believe it or not, this is one of the best skills you're going to learn for technology all day long. Because your arms are connected to your shoulders, which are connected to your brain, which are connected to your heart. And that's what you're wanting to come through your messaging. Okay? If you show up to execute your technology plan and your strategies, hunker down because you've been on your computer all day long trying to figure things out, you will go insane like I have many, many times. What I've learned over the years is how to actually handle technology in a way that doesn't make me go crazy. When I first started my business, I didn't have a cell phone or a laptop. So my technology curve was very steep. And I wanted to let you know that just yesterday, I taught myself how to split my Zoom room into private Zoom groups all by myself. I just Googled it up, just like Sage's hand says, and I figured it out. Everything is figure-outable. Everything is figure-outable. And here's a couple tips on how to make it figure-outable for you. So don't show up to your plan of action overwhelmed already. Don't show up tensified and try and figure it out. It just won't happen. Come prepared to troubleshoot when it comes to technology. Because troubleshooting is what it takes. Oftentimes it takes clicking, 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 and clicking some more until you get it right. Because most of the technology is designed intuitively. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but what I know is if I keep clicking buttons, something starts to happen intuitively and things start to work, okay? And if you don't give yourself enough time to do that, because you're doing a Facebook Live and you're like, oh, I'll just figure it out 5 minutes before. Don't do that to yourself. consider 20% of your time is going to be troubleshooting technology, and just put that in there and be mindful not to be cruel to yourself as it's happening. Like you should know it. You don't know it. You're learning. The other thing I want to share is how valuable it is to get someone in your life, potentially a millennial, potentially some young person who's been like dwiddling on their phone since they were born, to show you the shortcuts, because everything has a shortcut. And if you can saddle up side by side, I just gave this advice on the Facebook group. Like if you can get next to someone with your laptop and your phone and get some advice from 20 minutes, 30 minutes, that can make your life so much easier. So if you're a maverick, you like to do it on your own, keep clicking buttons. If it's too overwhelming, get next to a human. This is the roadmap to success, ladies. Because if you can, little by little, day after day, solve the problems that are in front of you, you will be a few steps ahead of your clients. And that's what you need to be able to be an expert in their eyes and to be able to follow the plan that Sage was talking about. And I love, Sage, how you're laying out different steps for them to hit different goals, ladies. It's really important to have a bronze and a silver and a gold goal. When we set a goal that's lofty, I want to make $1 million, but I've never done Facebook before. I want 25 paying clients every month, but I never actually worked with one-on-one. When we set those lofty gold goals, what we're doing is we're setting ourselves up for failure and disappointment. So you can have those gold goals, but make sure you hit the bronze and the silver goals before that. Give yourself realistic goals. Add $2,500 to your monthly income, $5K to your monthly income before you get to the $20,000 mark. And that way, your steady growth can be permanent growth. It can be something that you just live into.
Oh my gosh, it's so figure outable. You guys can all do it. And thank you, Serena, for just keeping us realistic. I just want to say a couple more things about that. And Serena, I could not agree more. And like Serena said earlier, you guys, for those of you that are like, I don't know what I'm selling, I don't know what to charge. Guess what? You are making it up. So in the next week or two, we're going to invite you to choose a price point and not think about it too much. Your coach is going to be working one-on-one with you to get clear on what you are going to charge. But Serena and I are both going to recommend that your rate probably is going to land somewhere in between these numbers, $297 a month to $997 a month. You know, like many of you have already pointed to, you're wanting to launch a higher level program, some kind of a coaching program in this price range. We're going to recommend that you start out with a 6-month program. Perhaps some of you are ready for a 12-month program. And it's absolutely okay for you to start out with a 3-month program. Does it make sense? For those of you guys that have never sold a coaching or mentorship program before, some of you guys might want to start out with 3 months, right? That might feel like enough as like a first level, right? You're stair-stepping yourself into greater levels of commitment, greater lengths of program. Most of you guys are really shooting for that $5,000 a month, right? That base level of income. Some of you guys are working more toward the 6-figure mark. And we're going to be talking more during the Client VIP Day about how you can always offer things like VIP days or VIP retreats. In addition to your coaching programs, there are other things you can sell, right? If somebody's wanting a lot of support in a short amount of time, we're going to be talking a little bit more about how you can get a quick influx of cash into your business if needed. And then I want to make a plug for, again, starting with high-end courses. We have clients come to us all the time and say, well, wouldn't it be easier to just put people in a program if I was just charging like $97 a month? I just want to charge something cheaper so I can get more people in. And what I really want to invite you into, the awareness as you're first getting started, that no matter how, let me say it this way, you're going to have conversations to invite those first few clients in the door whether it's a high-end program or a low-end program. Does that make sense? Just like Tracy was saying, you have to learn how to sell the thing that you're selling, whether you're charging $100 a month or $300 a month or $800 a month. And as you're learning to sell and do these things for the first time, I would so much rather you guys have 10 clients paying you $500 a month than 50 clients paying you $100 a month, because guess what? It's the same amount of money, and then you have to do customer service on those 50 clients. And guess how much work it is to get 50 clients all at once when you're brand new to business, or if you haven't been doing this very long. You know, many of you are already nodding. It's no joke to have that many people interested in what you're doing. And so that's why we recommend that you start high end first. Now, that being said, we absolutely have some of our leverage clients launching membership programs and doing it quite successfully. And when you're ready to launch one of those lower level programs, you're going to want to build your tribe first. Most business coaches will recommend that you have a tribe of at least 10,000 people opted into your mailing list, at least 50,000 people paying attention to you on social media. If you want to really get that place of like 50 clients in a $47 a month program or 100 clients in a $97 a month program, okay? Membership just takes longer. It takes a little bit longer to monetize. You can absolutely do it. We don't recommend it that it's the first action step out the gate. Now, some of you are still in niche soup, and that's okay. Even if you're in niche soup, we want to ask you, what is a need that you could fulfill at this moment in history? One of the things that's become very clear to me is that being an entrepreneur is not about asking, what am I most passionate about bringing to the world, right? That's not actually the first question to ask. The first question to ask is, what does the world need from me now? What do they need from me now? And yes, I want to match that up with something that I'm passionate about, but to not start by making it about yourself. Can you feel that? To start by making it about what the world's going through. What we've seen is that it's really important to understand who your niche is. My niche is women entrepreneurs, but I have a couple of micro niches within that niche. Does that make sense? One of my micro niches is women who want to create community online, and they want to build tribe online and find their clients within that tribe by doing business in a way that's really in alignment with women's values. Another micro niche that I have is women speakers. Speakers who want to speak online and live, right? That's a micro niche within the overarching brand of Women Rocking Business that we serve. Serena helps people tell their story. She's freaking brilliant at helping people craft a story that they would insert into a video presentation, into a keynote presentation. And so even though Serena works with all kinds of women, that's something that she's known for. Serena, do you want to add anything about just like the importance of having that kind of micro niche, especially at this time in history?
It's really a way to stand out, ladies. And it's also a way to stay grounded. You know, as the world continues to change, like right now, I'm asking the question, how is storytelling relevant? Of all the things that I've done with storytelling, how I've supported people, how is it relevant? And one of the things I'm looking at is like, how is it relevant to people who are getting on TEDx stages, right? Because we need really good ideas right now. We're up against issues that we haven't been as a global people in climate change. Like, how is that relevant? So being able to micro niche will keep you out of overwhelm, keep you grounded in what is that one thing. That's what I have to say about that.
I want to also just say, you guys, that I'm pretty thrilled over here that we mastered Facebook groups like 3 years ago, because now every colleague I know that has had to cancel their live event is moving into Facebook groups. I've been on the phone with Eben Pagan, Marie Forleo, Mama Gina, Lisa Nichols. I've been on the phone with some of my most highly revered and respected digital marketers, training them on Facebook groups, because they're all realizing that they need to be able to create the kind of community that you guys already know and are learning how to create right now under your nose. We just had a leverage client a couple days ago do a Zoom call like this into her Facebook group with about 36 parents on that call. She had 25 or 30 parents on the call because she's a parenting mentor. And she did $32,000 of revenue in one day from one Zoom call in 24 hours. So what I'm here to tell you is making these videos, learning these chops, getting these groups going. It works, it works, it works. Every single one of you has a gift that is needed right now. I would even go so far as to say there's no accident that you're in this program right now. And there's no accident that the global reset is happening for all of us, conspiring to get us out there with our gifts. Serena, what an honor to get to lead with you today.
It's so good to be with you and be with all of you ladies and be in a time where women speaking up for what they really believe in, standing with other women, has never been a more powerful form of sovereignty and positive action. So congratulations for being here. I look forward to supporting you the whole year long.
You guys are so beautiful. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to spend the year with you guys. You're amazing. Go make your videos. Have fun.